Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our first webinar, which involves question and answer session with SIRA. And this, the idea is that we're going to have this session every month, okay, introducing one of the directors of SIRA to answer any questions that you may have, okay, and hopefully quarterly we will convene a webinar which will include all the heads of the departments of SIRA. Okay, so if we can do that quarterly, that would be 4 times a year, and then we can actually establish a complete link between the association and SIRA and answer any queries that you may have. Also, I would like to announce that we're going to have our SIRA conference at the Intersect on the 18th of January, after 2 years of because of the COVID. So that will be the whole panel, or the whole directors of SIRA are going to be there and answer any questions that you may have. And they will highlight any new regulations or any new procedures that need to be followed for 2022 onwards. Without any further delay, I would like to introduce you to Engineer Khalid Al Hamadi, our chairman, to welcome you to this session, and then we can start. And our moderator is Liz Jalal, who is going to be handling it from there. Over to you, Khalid.
شكرا عادل. السلام عليكم. أحب أرحب في الجميع حضور هذا الويبينار، وشرفنا المهندس عارف الجناحي من مؤسسة تنظيم الصناعة الأمنية للإجابة على جميع الأسئلة اللي بتنطرح من قبلكم إن شاء الله، وتكون مفيدة للجميع. وفي نفس الوقت نبغى نعلن إن إحنا بنكون مشاركين في معرض انترسك تاريخ 18/1، وبيكون لنا حضور مميز إن شاء الله. منذ انطلاقنا من 2 سنين بسبب كوفيد ما قدرنا نسوي هذا الشيء، بس إن شاء الله هالسنة بيكون لنا حضور ملموس في معرض انترسك. Our moderator Liz will handle the webinar now with Mr. Arif Al Janahi, and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khalid. Welcome to all of you. A very good morning to everyone out there. I am Liz Jajal, heading the Education and Training and Awareness Office of the SPA. As you know, today's webinar is different. So let me welcome our panelists for this live session, because they are going to take the floor now. Needless to say, all 3 of them are a walking encyclopedia of SIRA. So you have a lot of information that you can get from them. Let me ask Mr. Arif Al Janahi to introduce himself, and then you can start the question and answer session. Mr. Arif.
Yeah, I forgot the mic on mute. Good morning, everyone. Some know me, some don't. My name is Arif Al Janahi. I'm Director of Security Engineering in SIRA. And then I am an CSYP member. Of course, some know that my department is the concerned department with the rules and regulations, which is the technical rules and regulations in SIRA, which is implemented in the market and has some kind of effect. I've been in SIRA or in DPS since 2008. I'm an engineer. Of course, the experience that we get from our department is very high. So I'm more technically wise person than any other. So feel free to ask any questions regarding the technicalities and things. Plus to that, we got from Khadija a set of 13 questions. I don't know, Liz, you would like us to start with the 13 questions, or we wait for anybody to ask any question from the chat bot, or he comes online? It's up to you, Liz. So let's see how we go on.
You can start with the questions you have while people start sending in questions.
Great. First question came to us actually. It says, is there any additional change coming from the 1st of January 2022 in addition to Law 12 of year 2016 and Bylaw Regulation 1 2018, which is the version 3.1, which was released first of 2019. Yes, there is some changes that for the preventative manual that will come in. Mostly the changes are the reduction of some of the requirements. And the principal requirements are as they are, but which is the general first section of the preventative manual. But some of the activities requirements will be reduced. The requirement will be reduced based on the current situation in the market and based on that to make a better environment for that. One more thing is that a lot of question comes in about January 2022. The preventative manual was issued on January 2019, and a grace period was given 3 years for everybody to implement that. Unfortunately, the majority, they just waited for the January 2022. They understood that they had to implement that, but they waited to the last minute and the COVID came in and the crisis came in. So everybody's asking, are we going to be responsible for anything? Yes, you are. But there is changes in the government that the requirements will somehow change based on a phase basis. And there is some high priority requirements in the new regulations has to be done on January 2022. Then the rest can be done on phases because we know some of installations are big. Second question. Well, there's a lot of abbreviations in it. I couldn't understand it, so I'll jump to third one. Okay. Will ER, which is exception request for general warehouse, continue to get approval or not? Regarding warehouses, the requirement for warehouses is camera systems, which is CCTV and alarm. The requirement was put by the CID, and we are as a stakeholder. They are as stakeholders, main stakeholders. We apply to them. But the change that will come to warehouses is that yesterday I signed off the requirement of the shelf aisles cameras, which will reduce almost 80% of the requirements for warehouses. So that will affect a lot of warehouses that because the legality of warehouses is a little bit different than any private entity. Like a lot of places, they have license, warehouses don't. They are considered as buildings. So that's one of the changes that will come, and it will be introduced. Actually, it's effective right now, but we will announce it in InterSec. Fourth question is whether video guard switch will be required for ordinary buildings and general warehouses or not. Video guard is not till now required for ordinary residential buildings, but they are required for warehouses. Number 5, whether ONT is still a mandatory requirement, or do wireless 4G is acceptable for video guard. ONT is the fiber box which Etisalat uses for connectivity, and some areas they don't have that fiber connectivity. So what we do is that that has to be exempted, or a request has to be sent to us, and we usually approve it. That if somebody don't have a cabled internet, he can use a 4G or do or اتصالات. It doesn't make a difference to us. Number 6, how can we get the updates about the new rules in advance in order to take care for our commitments with the SSUs? That one, any changes will be announced. I mean, the normal process is that if you get a change, it will be announced. And usually what SIRA does is that it gives a grace period. So everybody can adjust themselves with their clients, which is the SSUs, security service users. So the updates are coming in. It's on our website. We send memorandums for everybody. And just make sure that your email at the portal is the correct email, and you'll get that thing. And as I said, usually we give a grace period for the implementation. We have question number 7, whether new activities are being added in the list of activities where SIRA compliant VSS is required. Yes, we are having this year a number of activities being added. One of them, as I remember, is schools and hospitals, hospitals, and some of the specialty clinics, and other activities that I don't remember, but that will be announced in Intersec by details. Be aware that at Intersec, we're going to do a full session of the comparison of the new preventative manual compared to the old one. And there is a lot of changes that happened actually since the implementation. So all of that will be shown in Intersec. How we can get the documents checked and approved for engineers and technicians before hiring them. Okay, that's a training. That's a licensing question, but I'll answer it. You want to check the documents. I mean, the requirements are very clear. The engineers and the technicians have a certain prerequisites, and you have to check them. It's mentioned in the website, it's mentioned in the form that what is exactly required. But I don't know what you mean by check. I mean, if it's a fraud document or from their original country, that's thing we cannot help you in, because we are always seeing that in our business actually. Okay, number 9, why many SSU trade licenses are unblocked in DED and getting renewed without SIRA NOC? That's a good question actually. That's a question that is causing confusion in the market. It's not that it doesn't require NOC. There's an agreement between us and DED and all licensing issuing authority, okay, but especially DED, because what they started with this one is that the license can be renewed, but after the renewal, they have a grace period of 1 month to bring in the NOC from SIRA. So they have that grace period. But after 1 month, if that license, that NOC is not issued by SIRA, or that document is not issued, an automatic fine will be issued. Bear in mind, everybody, that this is the process in the future will be. Licensing and everything will be renewed automatically, okay? And a grace period is given for the following of the government requirements. So there is no delay in the license. I mean, before, license used to get blocked, and businesses were used to stop from visas and SSUs like hotels, their liquor licenses stops, their event stops. That will be changed, is that the license gets renewed and it has a grace period. Even in the trade license, there is a print in the bottom that this license has 1 month to follow all the NOC's requirement, which is SIRA one of them. You have civil defense, if they have food municipality, so they have to comply to that one. It doesn't mean that they are not obliged to do it. It's only that we separated the requirement of the government from the license in case of renewal. But after 1 month, if they didn't present any document, they will get fined and possibility of suspension of the license. Question number 10, how can we point out any mistake or share some ideas to take to SIRA to the highest level? See, the doors are open. Everybody knows that. But some of the integrators always say that we don't listen. It's their way of keeping a distance between us and the SSU. If you have anything, please send it to info@sira.gov.ae. That will be sent to the concerned department, 3 working days for to be answered or to meet the concerned person. If you have any technical issues, I mean, the SPA is more of specialized people, and you don't want to go through that long process. You can send an email if you have a technical question to opr@sira.gov.ae. For general requirements or licensing requirements, you can send it directly to the registration department, which is REG, G for general, at sira.gov.ae. And they will answer you within 3 working days. Question number 11. I mean, we have 2 more to go and we will finish. Army official with or without uniform can enter CCTV or inquire their personal issues. Army is army. So the only, and this answers even the second question. If any of the CID police and SIRA official will come to visit CCTV, we should write their details and make report. Okay. Army, he cannot enter any CCTV room and request anything unless he's consented by the CID, police, or SIRA, escorted or consented, or he has a letter from the higher court. If somebody comes and even in his army uniform and he's requesting that he gets a footage or he checks the cameras, he cannot unless he has an NOC from us or the police or the CID. These are the 3 legislating bodies that can access the camera as they want. And plus to that, anybody, according to our law, that accesses the cameras and takes footages, or we would like to see footages, and he's from CID, police, or even SIRA, their name, their ID number, okay, official ID number, national ID number, has to be written down in the logbook. Last question, are security personnel allowed to stop people standing around hotel premises? Okay, it depends on what is meant by around hotel premises. If it's on within the boundary of the hotel, the land plot of the hotel, and operationally they are thinking that there is something wrong, yeah, they can inform that because this is within their property. But if it's out of their property, for instance, there's a pavement in front of the hotel and it's out of the hotel property, no, they cannot. That's a public area and anybody can stand in public area. Within their plot, within their limitation, that's possible. That's a security procedure, and it depends on the security manager or supervisor to decide. Because what happens is that some events, people gather around outside or something, so you can manage it, but within your limits. That's even mentioned in the criminal law. That's the 13 questions that I got in advance. We can now take the other questions that came in.
Yes, I will address this to the panelists, and of course, Mr. Arif, you can always answer them. We have a question from Vinod, Mr. Vinod. What are the artificial intelligence applications that will be permitted by SIRA on private security space, like hotels, offices, residentials, etc.?
any software that will identify a person will not be permitted. Any other software can be. So we go to the difference between both. The first one is that we have basic analytical software or basic AI software, which is head counting, people gathering, heat mapping, all of that is allowable. But any other software that will identify a person and some kind of a privacy issues, no, that will not be allowable unless there is a special requirement or some restricted thing. So what will happen now is that we are working on a legislation of those use, because privacy issues raise up here, and there is other legislation regarding privacy. So some people will get annoyed that somebody identified them. So we have to determine that. So that's regarding the AI part of it. Yes. Second question.
Yes, there's another one that was addressed directly to you, dear Mr. Arif. This is from Mr. Muhammad Mughal. Unfortunately, one of my security system technician is unable to pass the training in the exams. I was submitting the undertaking, but every time it was extended because of his failure. So what can you, I mean, he knows the process, but he's saying that what can be done further?
I mean, he failed. So what can I do? I mean, we give, I mean, the number of failures is open. He can try 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. But I mean, that's a managerial thing. I mean, you are holding on to someone who doesn't know what he's doing. So that's the risk you are taking. We are helping out with the renewal of the license, but later on, if everything gets automated, that will not work. So I prefer you find out. See, in helping you out, the number of required license issuing requirements is that 1 engineer and 2 technicians. Just bring on board another technician certified, or you get him certified, and that's it. This technician, you can make him work, although legally, if an inspector sees him and he doesn't have the license, he will be fined. So that's a question. That's a managerial, internal managerial thing. If you want to continue to use this technician who is failing always, I think you have to revise yourself before asking this question. Yeah.
Yes, there's another question from Mr. Vinod Roberts. He says there was a message from SIRA that all existing security consultants must reappear for another skills and competency certification. Can you give a little more detail about this new requirement?
I'm not aware of that circular going out because it wasn't issued by me, but we can come back for him because I have to see that we have a training, a new training and certification for security consultants, but that circular going out, I'm not aware of it, so I cannot answer that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I would like to ask Mr. Adil and Mr. Khalid, if you have any questions that have already been sent in, would you like to also join in? Mr. Adil.
Yeah, there is questions that are coming from the chatting. Yeah. So I'll read them and we'll start from there.
All right.
Okay. At 11:11, Sayed Wajahat sent a question saying, during design stage, will SIRA have any online process for consultants to approach SIRA consultancy team for special case project approval? Yes, that's you can do it through OPR, and you send an email to opr@sira.gov.ae, and someone will get in contact. It's a non-normal condition. Okay, but soon yeah, for non-normal conditions only. So if he's suffering from or he faced like a challenge, usually we have 2 challenges in Emirate of Dubai: multi-use buildings and open projects like an open mall. So some of the consultants really have really difficult to cover. They can contact us to see. This raised another issue that we always talk about, is that either this is deep technical, is that a lot of consultants are afraid that they lose their contract because they ask for too many cameras. And the development is an open development. Usually when open development comes to us, we can help them out, is that by allowing instead of field of view setup or requirement, we can shift him to PPM, which is pixel per meter. That will help to reduce the number of cameras, but there are certain guarantees that it has to be put in by the owner of the area to be able to give them that option. Okay, we have a second question from Shijin. Why are buildings not treated as SSU? What are the basic difference? Okay, see, SSUs are the entities or establishment that have a trade license. So there's a license issuing authority which is doing that, and they are getting renewed every year. But buildings do not have a license. Buildings, when they start building them, okay, they get the completion certificate, and that's it. They never go back to any government entity to renew or anything. Okay, security systems, even the safety systems, require constant maintenance, and most of the poorly maintained systems are in buildings. So that's why we don't treat buildings as SSUs. We treat them as a special category. We call it important complexes, and it's there was a law issued in 2014 regarding that. Okay. An anonymous attendee put in a question, say, we are facing issue in license renewal of our guard due or our staff visa under Abu Dhabi. And now almost our staff SIRA license expired. How we can solve this issue? This issue cannot be solved like this. You have to move them to a license to Dubai. Their residency license has to be Dubai. I mean, the visas has to be issued from Dubai. This is a decision was taken for multiple reasons, and most of them are security-related reasons. Okay, we have a question from Sayed Wajahat. Sayed Wajahat asked for the beginning. Yeah. Okay. Okay. His second question from Sayed: will SIRA or SPA have intelligence unit department capturing crime or terrorism-related statistics? This shall help consultant during threat and risk assessment. Okay. Intelligence, SPA have intelligence unit department. No, there won't be such a thing. I mean, we are going based on our stakeholders, which is the Dubai Police, State Security, the CID, and now there's a new stakeholder that came in, which will run some of the things. Is that the Dubai Digital Authority? The Dubai Digital Authority view now is that they collect to convert all visual information to digitize it. Why? Because even the commercial entities will benefit from those statistics and digitization without provoking anybody's privacy. For instance, I mean, a mall would like to know how many people came in, would like to know the age of the people came in and everything. That can be done by facial recognition, but facial recognition is a privacy issue. So by stating us, we can control the transparency of information going to people going out. Consultant here, what his second part is that this shall help consultant during threat and risk assessment. Actually, most of the consultants are following our rules exactly. And we are doing the risk and the risk assessment of any location. So SIRA requirement is based on events happened before, okay, and that's why all of that was put in. So what we'll do here is that those information that based on risk assessment sometimes is provoking the person's privacy, that we cannot allow that. Your question is clear. I mean, the security consultant is between two things. But if you have a special project, for instance, like a future museum, we are more willing to help out and coming in and putting the requirement, doing the risk analysis with the consultant for special projects, not a normal hotel project. That's different. Unless the security consultant detected that there is a special kind of risk that is not covered by the law, that's a different thing. Mahmoud Mughal, dear sir, he didn't finish his. RG, our general office leased with individual license in the warehouse to be considered warehouse criteria. Our general offices leased. See, the warehouse, if it's a warehouse, the owner of the warehouse is obliged to provide the security systems. The leased warehouses, if they are under the legislated activities like jewelry, bank, or whatever, they are required to install the cameras by themselves. The renting the leased unit, but in warehouse in general, they have to all provide. Just a second, I think my. Okay, are there plans to approve? No. I submit and. Okay, our general offices. Okay, okay. Mohammed Mughal, I submit an undertaking for my security system technician who failed 6 times. This is the same thing as before. Are there any plans to approve cloud storage, private or subscribe? No, there isn't. There won't be any cloud approval. There was a plan and we did a study, but it turned out to be that it's not beneficial for everybody to have a cloud storage. It's only beneficial to telecommunication companies. Again, Mohammed Mughal, I already find a new technician and process visa, but how can I remove my fine, which was given me on every extension, which is now 20? See, this is not a fine. I mean, this is an undertaken letter, and in case the period of the undertaken letter passes the time, you will get fined. It's not a fine. It's not issued. It's not on your license. So finish the technician process so you don't get fined. But if you reach 20,000, it means you've been doing this for a long time. So please finish it off as soon as possible. Anonymous attendee, do we have any specific SIRA requirement guidelines for security guard uniform? The previous guideline issued from DPS. Yes, there is. It's the same guideline with some reduction of some of the requirements. Okay, and which will be issued on January with the new preventative manual. Christopher Kawado Taki. If I am a security guard and wants to take security engineering training from SIRA as an SPA member, can I get a discount on training fees at Amman security training? I think that question should be directed to Khalid. Okay, I don't know. It's none of my concern actually. It's with Khalid and Adil, so you can answer them there direct. Okay, Khalid Kim.
I'm in, Engineer Arif. We are listening until you finish, and whatever questions we have for SPA, we will answer them at the end. Okay, great. Yeah, because a lot of questions are coming. The counter is going up to 17. Okay, thanks, Khalid. Again, Christopher asked a question regarding the training. That's a different issue. Alim said, SIRA, when going to introduce mandatory call center for security companies?
We studied that actually. The sizes of security companies in Dubai varies from people without security guards, from companies having thousands of security guards. So this issue, I think we will not do a call center. We will introduce an application that is like a semi-call center. Because if you're going to say call center, you must have employees 24/7 working on it. You are in security business. You are not in a normal business. So I think an application is much better. And the application is ready. It's been ready for a long time. But the COVID and the current situation, and we are trying to get packages from Etisalat and Do for security guards and security companies. So the cost of using the app will reduce your cost of operation. Shijan asked, I have encountered a couple of times while designing CCTV with the SIRA approved consultant that it needs CCTV camera every 30-35 meters in a corridor. Where are these rules set? It's not the rule of 30 to 35. You mean consultant or auditor? Because some people confuse between them. It's not about a rule of thumb that is put for 30-35 meters for the corridors. It depends on the height and the condition of the area. But most probably the field of view of the camera, which is detection, which is 10%, will, with the full HD camera at 30 to 35, it depends on the quality of the camera, is what's required by the law. So that's the difference. And plus corridors, Shajan, remember that the height of the ceiling plays a very big role in that. So you have to be very careful in that. Camera, as I say always, camera field of view, it's not like the rule of a brick wall. Brick wall, you know that you will put a wall there and it will stay there and you can see it on the plan. Cameras is totally dependent on the height, lighting condition, distance, field of view, and the quality of the camera. Yani we've seen a lot of cameras that are from very repetitive companies and high reputation companies, but unfortunately the performance went down. So we discovered later on it was a firmware issue more than it's an installation issue. So the parameters that determine the distance is a lot. So please, I ask everybody, educate yourself in this one, have experiences, and don't be close-minded with a certain manufacturer based on the price. Try other companies. Jamal Muallim, after maintenance contract with customer is expired, is there any procedure to follow with SIRA to waive our responsibility towards the customer or not? Actually, automatically it is removed because if you your maintenance contract is registered in the portal. So if you are by that date not responsible, the responsibility goes away. It's based on the contract. Anonymous attendee. We received below circular from SIRA recently. It applied to hotels as we have shutters available at receiving area only, and they are manned with security guards. All commercial establishments that use any iron shutter system with locks must use the lock padlock approved by the institution in accordance with the technical and security specification approved in Emirates. Okay, we have to be clear here. This is not intended for hotels. They are intended for jewelry shops, banks, and exchange. So you are out of that category. I think that circular has to be amended to that one. But if you are using that shutter, we recommend you to use that approved lock. If you are not in that category, it's not all the shutters, it's only for these three. Okay, there are many Vinud Roberts. There are many incidents of people getting sudden cardiac arrest during gym workouts Yeah, I've seen that video. The guy was sitting on the staircase. Can SIRA consider making it mandatory for all gyms to be covered with CCTV cameras? Yes, there is. Some of them come to us, but if we analyze the video, the guy was sitting on a staircase. So staircase is not a very high risk area, so we don't require there. Bear in mind, we note that if we always ask for cameras and extra cameras and extra cameras, some people would like to put it and some people will complain. They say, why you are asking too much? For people, they don't like installing. I mean, any merchant doesn't want that. In our professional security is a non-revenue cost for them. So they try to reduce security as much as they can. Although the consequences of not having good security is catastrophic, but unfortunately people don't see it. People are all people are becoming short-sighted. They want now effect and now benefits, which I cannot answer. This is culture. Okay, again, Vinud Roberts. We have a hotel operator having an issue. Non-hotel guests from surrounding properties are sneaking into their swimming pool and other outdoor play areas, which is a private property of the hotel, but open to the beach side without any fence barrier gates. They want to implement face recognition and AI on CCTV camera to identify intruders. Is this allowed? No, you cannot put facial recognition. Till now, there isn't any law, but later on, when the law will be implemented, it will. But what he can do is that he can verify it with a different way, is that he can put a head count of people coming out of the hotel outside and the people coming in. That somehow will help the people there. But you cannot put facial recognition there. Please try another technology to do it. My advice to you, most of the people who go and hotels use RFID cards, which is short-range RFID. So you have to find some kind of a technology is that you're passing and walking around and you're scanning the RFIDs of the hotel, which is the property of the hotel, and yet not provoking anybody's security. So what you can do is that you made a mobile device that reads you don't go to the client, it's from far away. While you are walking, it can read. I've worked on that one and it can read 1,000 cards in 1 second. So you can do that and you compare the numbers. Muhammad Sayed, dear sir, what are the latest technologies which a commercial as well as a residential area can install or utilize to improve the security and safety standards as per SIRA regulation? What is allowed and what is not allowed? Okay. You are saying residential, commercial, and SIRA regulations. These are 3 issues. SIRA regulations are clear. We go to the minimum requirement. But any entity would like to install anything extra, which doesn't provoke the privacy of the people, they can install. For instance, latest technologies that are coming in are you can use the same cameras that SIRA implements for head counting. You can use parameter protection, and a lot of them for commercial and residential is access control. So a lot of people think that access control is an something over, but it's not. It's a value added to that establishment that is taking care of the people there. Okay. Other technologies that you can add in is that you put some kind of sensory inside some areas which are not commonly used. For instance, you're putting a camera on the roof. As a building owner or an operator or facility management, you're required to know somebody's accessing the roof or not, or somebody's asking the stairway. See, the most crimes that happen in residential are 3 areas, 4 or 3: rooftop, staircase, garbage chute area, and the parking area. So you can put something there, but you don't have to use technologies. You can even use what we call signage. Signage helps a lot. So just see what standard practices there is in the market, and from especially from European countries, and so you get an idea from there. We have from anonymous attendee, do we have any specific SIRA requirements, guidelines for security guard monthly salary? Yes, there is. It's in the bylaw and it's mentioned there. But I don't remember the numbers. We agreed with the Ministry of, we already contacted the Ministry of Labor, is that the contract signed is according to that. Another anonymous attendee, as per the new law, do we need to shift all cameras to IP, or we can keep analog because it will take more budget? Okay, the requirement, the basic requirements is having full HD. A lot of, based on your activity, it depends. If you are a hotel, you are required to shift to IP. If you are a small entity, like a jewelry shop, exchange, you can use analog HD. So you have the choice. But I recommend you as an engineer to shift to IP because it's much easier to operate, much easier to maintain, and much easier to manage. So in the law, the guideline is very clear. We have the general requirements, okay, which talks about the technology. Then we have specific by activity. And we mentioned there to use either IP or analog HD dependent on the activity. Okay, Sayed Wajahat Ali Sliman, this is the third question. Does SIRA consultant course accredited as level 5 or level 6 from City and Angles? I'm not sure. I think that Adil can answer that later on. So he will answer. We have Qasim NFS. Qasim, yeah, Muhammad Qasim. I know you. Salam said, this is Muhammad Qasim. Yeah, okay. From NFS Technologies, with the reference to your comments regarding facial recognition and privacy, is it still applicable for facial recognition based time and attendance, and FR facial recognition based restriction tracking within client premises? Okay. See, this is a very good question, actually. A lot of entities use facial recognition for entry, time, attendance, okay? That is done by the agreement between the employee and the employer. So if the employee gives the consent to the employer to use his face for time attendance and tracking, that's according to the law, it's allowable because he gave the consent. But if the employee didn't give the consent, that's a labor issue between the employee and the employer. So they have to resolve it between them. I know that there is a lot of off-the-shelf time attendance based on facial recognition, okay, but the employer must protect himself, is that if somebody complains that he used that data only for inside his premises for the people he knows. The facial recognition is a sword with two blades. You can use it in a good way and a bad way. The thing is that the provoking of the privacy is that a person doesn't know that his facial recognition is being taken. A person is unfamiliar with the area that he's coming in, and he's not always going there. That's when the privacy issue comes up. We have Muhammad Sayed. Is SIRA doing any special training like decree in criminology and security? Criminology, no. Security is the standard that we have in the training center. Ahmed Al Sayed, Are there any rules or obligations being implemented to the employers in Dubai to be committed from SIRA about security guard or supervisor's salary? Yes, there is. As I mentioned before, it's the same question. There is a standard for security guards, actually, not for the supervisors, of the minimum salary wage and the overtime, but that's a labor issue, so we kept it with the Ministry of Labor. Muhammad Sayyid, is SIRA allowed security guard to utilize security platoon? Any special permission required? I don't know what you mean by platoon. Is that the stick that is used? As a security guard, no. But in cash and transit, they are required because they are at a higher risk. So the platoon, I think it's the stick that you are mentioning, is not allowable by security. Security guards are not allowed to carry any kind of weapons, either firearm or knife or any kind of aggression. Aji Gandrahan, for residential building, the SSU will usually request the security service users, the owner of the building, will usually request to wait for the auditor's comments before installing additional cameras, even if it is needed. How will SIRA deal with this habit? Okay, that's a good question. SIRA will deal with this habit is that in January, we will start approving drawings. So if there's a new building that is being built, the consultant will come to SIRA and to get approved. And the drawings will be approved by the SSCC center. They're going to have that service soon, according to a certain standard of presenting the drawings. And the auditor will check that one. So the work will be done before the installation is done, unless there's change in the design. So that will stop this habit to coming. Second is that even the auditor comes there, the auditing is valid for 1 month for re-audit. So if he doesn't do the revisit within 1 month and he comes after 1 month, the owner has to repay for that one. Sayyid Wajahat Ali Suleiman, can SPA avoid entering Emirates ID number in SPA membership portal? Since the portal license agreement states that all the information is shared between the Personify and its 52 numbers partner, I'm concerned that anyone can exploit these Emirates ID details. I think the SPA Khalid can answer that later on. Anila Ziad, is multi-sensor camera allowed to use to meet SIRA requirements, especially in outdoor area? Multi-sensor cameras that you mentioned in outdoor areas, we can give an exemption regarding that, but as a general rule of thumb, we don't allow that because some people will misuse our allowance. So when we allow that, so what they will do is that they will use it in somewhere else and they say we didn't know and we invested. So that's one of the cases. Second thing is that the coverage of multi-sensor areas, the field of view, is much different than using multiple cameras. Yesterday, a company came in and they are introducing a new product, which is a multi-sensor camera, but the cameras, instead of having a multiple main boards, it's a one main board. The sensors are on the places of the single cameras and connected to a single main board, which transmits to the VMS. I said that's allowable because the field of view is correct. Bear in mind that multiple sensors will reduce the cost of installation, but it somehow reduces the effectiveness of security field of view. So that's why it's a very sensitive issue, and sometimes it depends on the condition. Sometimes we allow it, sometimes we don't, based on the location. Sorry. Mark Wehret, Earlier this year, you told us that from 2022, SIRA will be enforcing the regulation that says that the recording system must be shut down if the capacity of the UPS drops below 25. Does this apply to HVR, DVR, as well as VMS? If so, there is list of SIRA approved UPS plus UPS that are compatible with this rule. Okay, first of all, the HVR and DVRs or NVRs or VMSs, when they are compatible, they have to send out the signal to the UPS to shut it down. Okay, a lot of UPSs now came out in the market with a compliant with this one, or there's an interface circuitry between the VMS and the UPS to shut it down. The list, I can ask the SSCC to get us the list based on their inspections. So we can create that one, because we don't, we just see the functionality. We don't approve equipment on that one, but we can like aggregate a list of that one. So that's what Khalid will be, because he's responsible for approval center. Now it's Ozas Danielle. Is it allowed to install camera in the swimming pool area? The cameras, some of the swimming pools areas are required to install cameras, but with monitoring field of view, which is 10%, which it doesn't show any private areas, but it shows the motion of the body. So if it's a small screen. Yani, as you can see, this is my screen, 10% is coming this much, so it doesn't show, but we want to see the motion. So some people say, no, this is provoking of our privacy. It's not provoking the privacy, because there's other laws that regulate the issue of sharing this video and everything. And that's a very harsh law. Actually, the sharing of the video, the highest punishment or will be implemented, which is almost 6 months in jail and 500,000 dirhams of fine. So for a person to take that view and publishing it would be very high risky. So it doesn't work. The pool issue is that there was a case of 3 friends were playing around at the pool, and there was a camera there by the owner installed, not required, and they somehow drowned their 3rd friend. They showed it as an accident, but it was intentional, based on that the person was trying to get out. So from there we decided that, and a lot of cases that kids get drowned. That's one of the actually, see, any request that comes to us, we study it from a different perspective, but a lot of people ask for their security. A lot of people hear social media regarding privacy, blah blah blah. No, you must know what's happening. So by knowing what's happening, you get some sense of security. And the person who knows that he's been monitored, okay, he would think 2 or 3 times before doing committing any crime or committing anything. So that's a privilege of the cameras. Some people react to cameras based on whatever they see on social media, but this is a value-added thing. Plus to that, there is laws that doesn't permit the publications of these compared us to others, other countries. There isn't any laws regarding publishing footage. But here we have that law. So the person who publishes will get criminally in court and will be held responsible, because he must, when he publishes, he must take the consent. Shijan, again, is there a special design guidelines document SIRA approved design consultant follow? Because SSP usually approach consultant for CCTV drawing approval and revisions and stamping, which costs money and time. And then SIRA inspector may or may not advise changes after inspection. How can this is minimized? First of all, as I said, in January, you will get a stamp drawing from SIRA. That section was started and it will be approved like it happens in the municipality. Second thing is that if the consultant made a mistake, he must have asked, according to us, and enforced, he must have an indemnity insurance. So he is responsible for his design. And if he made a mistake and the inspector came in and write down that he made a mistake, he must pay for it. So the installation company is doing the design of the consultant, and the consultant is the person who was trusted to know what he's doing. But if he doesn't know what he's doing, then he has to be responsible. We can interfere with that one to give the final decision that the consultant did a mistake in these cameras and he has to pay for it from his insurance. Aji, do fuel station have any special requirements according to the law? Fuel stations have the cameras and the ANPR system, and that's it. Anonymous attendee, any clues about law update in 2022? As I mentioned, it will be mentioned in January. There is a reduction in some of the requirements. I mentioned that in the beginning. Aji, in addition to security measures, does SIRA law focus on life safety as well? That one is the specialty of civil defense and ambulance. We don't interfere with that one because security is different and safety is different. But we train our guards to be able to do first aid, how to deal with these conditions. They are all trained in that one. Daniel Ahmed, do else of NPR other cameras which cannot obtain face or plate no can be allowed in parking areas? Okay, let me understand. Do else of NPR other cameras which cannot obtain face or plate no can be allowed in parking areas. Daniel, if you can send me again the question, I couldn't understand it. Anila Ziad, please confirm if SIRA drawing approval, which is going to be implemented, will be through security consultant or direct from the system integrator. It's going to be through a system, it depends on the activity of the place, but it's going to be through security consultant for now. But we are studying for some certain activities, is going to be through the system integrators for some limited activities. Aji, would megapixel cameras be acceptable if ppm value was considered for detection criteria? 120% field of view can cover 1.8 meter wide in a normal case, but the door width is more than 2 meters. Normally, a retail store entry from a mall, a megapixel camera may be considered. Okay, Aji, you opened a very broad issue here. We can consider megapixel cameras for the location based on the location and what's required. But bear in mind that the higher the megapixel you go, the more lighting you require. And usually, neither service provider or the consultant can control the lighting condition. So that's why there was a lot of push from a lot of entities in Dubai and outside saying why Dubai is not making ppm as the main way of view of the camera. Lately, I was with a colleague in the UK, and they said they are suffering from that. Is that, first of all, using megapixel camera requires a lot of light, and that's the parameter that you cannot control. Second thing is that a lot of service providers are abusing that by telling the client, no, I can reduce you 5 cameras to 1 with 10 megapixel camera or 8 megapixel camera. So what they are doing there, they are achieving the ppm, but the quality of the image is so bad that you are like you having analog. Everybody knows, let's be honest here, is that slightest change in the lighting, the megapixel camera gets affected. camera manufacturers come say, no, I have this technology. As SIRA, as a legislator, I will not go based on a single manufacturer technology. I go as a general, that everybody's open platform. So we don't monopolize to a certain manufacturer. So what happens here is that megapixel is that at the target. So you are seeing the width of the door. But if you go to ppm, even the width of the door, the distance will change. And secondly, one of the reasons that we don't approve ppm that much is that operationally will be too hard for the operator if the place is required to have an operator. I'll give you an example. There is something going on. He wants to check it out. He has to zoom in because the target, if it's at 10% of the screen height, you go to ppm, it will go so low. So he's seeing something is happening there. So he must zoom in, right? Zoom in and zoom out. Once you zoom in, you lose some of the field of view. So operationally and security operation will get affected by using ppm. We allowed some areas because the design of the structure doesn't allow field of view. The number of cameras is very high. It looks ugly. So we allowed it. But we took a guarantee from the client, from the operator, from the owner, that the lighting conditions should be minimum a certain lux to be able to get the ppm result that we want. And from my experience, even we give the ppm, it depends on even the installation company. It depends on the manufacturer of the camera. It depends a lot on the parameter of the camera, how they are set up. And usually people don't, like you say, can harmonize between them. One parameter will go off. One of the projects that got affected, it's an open mall. We couldn't identify a person. And I said to everybody, the most important camera to us is identification, which is the most difficult. So going to ppm on identification is a little bit difficult. I mean, it requires knowledge from the person who's installing, designing, knowledge from the person who's installing, okay, and a very high maintenance schedule to obtain the ppm. I think that was the last question from the chat. Okay, Liz.
We won't let you go yet because there's one more question from Simon Whitehouse. Please, could you confirm if SIRA have any intention to adopt a Rotakin, Norman, or VIC test target for validation of CCTV installed system against approved design and SIRA standards?
Till now, we didn't decide on which one of them, okay? But if those targets, if we're going to use ppm, we have to use the targets, one of them that will show the actual ppm and the target. So that's not decided yet because the work of putting the target in front of the camera, for instance, for 6 cameras, is much less than putting in front of 2,000 cameras, which the approval will take time, which will lead to that the license will not be renewed, which the client will be very unhappy that your procedure is taking too much time. So we are searching for now for any software or any automated way to do it over the video guard layer.
Thank you very much. I will now like Engineer Khalid to answer some of the questions. Are you there, Engineer Khalid? I can't see him there.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there
Yes.
you are. Yes. You have some questions. Do you want? I have one. Can I read it out to you?
Yes.
If I'm a security guard and want to take security engineering training from SIRA as an SPA member, can I get a discount on the training fees at Aman Security Training Center?
Actually, we are we're going to have kind of special discount for all SPA members in all the courses offered by the training courses in Dubai, not only in Amman. But we're going to try to get a special rate for all of them.
Thank you. I think you have a set of questions with you also. So would you like to answer those?
Where are the questions?
You have to go down on the Q&A, and we have to search for the questions actually.
All right. Now, meanwhile, I can ask a question to Dr. Hadi.
Go ahead.
Yes. Does SIRA consultant course accredited as level 5 or level 6? It means, is the consultant course accredited at level 5 or level 6 from City and Guilds?
There is no such thing as consultant course, because a consultant, how can you train a consultant? Okay, I mean, it's a huge field. Yeah. So what we have there is general testing for consultants, which is going to be designed by SIRA, which will involve practical design and questions and answers. And there is a guidelines, and particularly on the law. So they got to know the law of the security law of the territory in any case. But there is no such thing as a consultant course. There isn't anywhere, unless it's a specialized consultant course like a CCTV consultant, then that's a specialized course. But there is no such thing as a consultant course there.
Right. Okay. There's one more question. Can SPA avoid entering Emirates ID number in the SPA member portal? Since the portal license agreement states that all the information is shared between Personify and its 52 numbers partner, I am concerned that anyone can exploit these Emirates ID details. That's the question that came up in our question and answer session. So I'd like to pose it to you.
Well, I know there is, that issue has been raised before and is being discussed. And I will move this one to Walter, because he arranged for the protection of IDs. And Walter can explain what measures we put in place, because definitely the information is not shared to third parties. Walter.
Thank you, Adil. Thank you, Liz. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you. Yes, it was raised before, and it's a very good question, actually. The message that you receive when you register in the system is coming from Wild Apricot. We use Wild Apricot as an association management system to provide the services like the website and billing and digital cards and so on. Wild Apricot, in order to render their services, they use third-party applications, for example, for billing, for the HTML services, for the web hosting applications, and so on. And all these services at some point will require some of the details in order to provide the services themselves. And these are the 52 partners that will receive your information. All these partners follow GDPR compliance. So they are all following stringent privacy standard, data privacy standards. So we are obviously happy to provide that information more in details if you would require so. We can post the generic admin email for the SPA. So maybe we'll post the email on the chat, and then you can send us an email if you want more details. And you can find it also on the Wild Apricot website. In the Wild Apricot website, you can find a section about data privacy and GDPR compliance. And there you have all the standards that they follow, including the way they protect their cloud services, the penetration testing that they do, and so on. So the platform is very secure. The data that is shared is within the services of the platform itself. You have to be sure that the data is not shared to third parties. So I hope that answered the question. If not, please do send us an email and we'll give you more details.
Thank you, Walter. We have another question in the question answer column there. It's for the SPA management. Let me read that out. What is the plan for the next year to renew the security managers SPA membership? I would suggest having different category levels of the SPA membership. That is, like beginners can join SPA as an affiliate member or a student member, and they can achieve heights like SPA membership like a graduate, and then charter member by demonstrating to employers and colleagues that the member is committed to achieving the highest levels of knowledge and skill in the field of security. I think, Dr. Hadi, you can answer this one.
I thought you already answered it.
No, I didn't.
Yes, I mean, what the plan is to have a roadmap. I mean, the membership of the SPA is open to any security professional. But what we want to emphasize that security is a profession, it's not a job. Okay, and that's why we're putting a roadmap through that people can start from the training, and then once they finish the training, security manager training, then they can go to the academic level, which is from certificate to diploma to degree up to master's degree. And we have an agreement with the Security Association, the SPA, the Security Association, and SIRA, okay, that there are courses provided there. And the courses are actually, they can be done all online, and they're all accredited by University of South Wales in the UK. So anybody can actually see that roadmap. And that's one of the benefits that we're actually providing at the SPA. And we talked as well to the Security Institute that to offer special discounts on these courses to the SPA members. So the plan is there and the roadmap is there for people to progress forward in this profession.
Thank you, Dr. Adi. So that's going to encourage a lot of membership for the next year, 2022. Yes, we are looking forward to a lot of members joining in. There's another question here. What are the requirements for security manager course and licensing? I think it's very general. Who would like to answer that one?
Well, as far as as far as I know, the requirements are very clear in the law, which is being stated there, and that will cover the qualification and experience, years of experience. But that can be found actually on the website of SIRA. There is a requirements that needed to be done. Doing the course does not mean automatically you will get the license, okay? Because you got to fulfill certain other SIRA criteria out there.
Thank you. There is another question from an anonymous attendee. Are hotel apartments or buildings under holiday home, boutique villas, trade license required to have SIRA inspection for CCTV control room every year? That means, are they supposed to have that?
Yeah, a hotel apartment or building under holiday home, boutique villas, trade license required to have SIRA inspection. See, from the beginning of, as a control room, they are not required to have. We have the regulation for it, but there was an agreement from with the DTCM, Department of Tourism and Commerce, is that we don't implement the requirement of SIRA on those establishments yet. And it was planned to be done before COVID, but still not yet. But if it's, the plan was as follows: if this establishment is covered by what we call the building law, for instance, this apartment is in a building which already implements the law, then the inspection will be not required. But we are still working on the system. Till now, the inspection is not required, but maybe it will be in the future.
Thank you very much. I think Daniel has continued on the question that he asked before, Daniel, about the requirements for security manager course. So Dr. Hadi, that's for you. How many years of experiences how the years of experience is calculated? Would you like to answer that one, or did you already specify previously?
That is actually specified in in the law. I'm not sure if there is going to be any changes in that in the new year, but that's really in the licensing department at SIRA, which is it's not the it's not the responsibility of any of us. So hopefully on the next session, or if you can actually drop us an email asking specifically, we can actually find that from the licensing department and answer it back to him.
I think there's one more question here for Engineer Arif. Any possibility of access control systems being part of regulations, as it is also crucial in terms of security?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, we're having a plan for that one. Actually, we implemented it on hotels, and there is, but it will be for certain activities, not all.
Thank you. We have a question from Aji Gangadharan. Normally, the landing stairs area lights are turned off to save energy. As a result, the performance of the ID camera is impaired. Is there any law that we can recommend to SSU that could ensure the lights are always on?
Yeah, okay. For answering this one, the new regulation is very clear. If the lighting condition of that area doesn't support the camera should be the ones with fitted with IR illumination to cover the low light condition. That's mentioned clearly in the law.
Thank you very much. I think we don't have any more questions right now. And Dr. Hadi, would you like to say something, or Engineer Khalid?
Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to announce that in the next meeting, we will have from licensing department as a guest in our webinar to answer the questions which is received from our members or whoever join our webinar. Are there any more questions for Engineer Arif?
I think there is two more questions that was because I'm clearing the questions as we go. Daniel Ahmed said, "Sir, as you mentioned, the cameras do get affected by light. So is the camera at parking or entry are not able to recognize face or vehicle plate number? Is there any penalty to be faced due to it? It depends on the designer of the system. If he didn't take that consideration, yes, the designer or the service provider will be penalized for that one, if we be more specific regarding that." Aji asked, "Are there plans to use made in UAE products in security installation?" Any product can be installed as long as it's according to the standards, either it's made in UAE or anywhere else. But enforcing made in UAE, no, there isn't any plans on that one. Okay, Samirda, you put just dear sirs. Okay. We have Tafsir Hussein. Is there any specific requirement for security guards or construction projects? It's the other way around. Any construction projects using a security guard has to be certified by SIRA. Okay, we are done. Can the panoramic camera be used for monitoring or detention, especially for warehouses? Panoramic camera, you mean multi-sensors or fisheye? Fisheye are not allowed at all. Panoramic multi-sensor cameras, monitoring or detention. I don't know, detention, that's in jails. But I don't know here monitoring, especially for warehouses. As I said before, the warehouses, now the aisles of the shelves will be removed, the requirement there. But using a panoramic camera, there's a certain distortion in those cameras that we don't allow, is that the client is restricted to that manufacturer. Sorry, there says, is there any law requiring us the use of motorized zoom lens for identification cameras? It's not allowed. If the inspector goes there and sees that the use of the motorized PTZ cameras, he will reject it. as I said before, the base of any security system is a fixed camera. The motorized PTZ cameras are supporting cameras for operational use only, not security use. Is it allowed a security can ask for Emirates ID to record the details while visitor coming in? Some people are reluctant. It depends on the condition there. I mean, if somebody coming in the premises or going to a very high security area or a sensitive area, he can ask them, but that's dependent on the internal security procedure of that location. When is the qualification from certificate to degree going to be started? When is the qualification from certificate to degree going to be started? I couldn't understand it. If you can more collaborate on that one, it's not understandable.
Yes, he means from the security training certificate to degrees on security. It's concerned with security.
I mean, anybody can develop them themselves, but it all depends on the prerequisites and his employer, how he's going to deal with it. I know this one is that the security wants to be a supervisor, but there's a prerequisite for licensing. Anybody can take any course in the training center and they can apply there, but they're going to get a certificate from the training center. If his employer wants to do it, we must meet the prerequisites. Some people come to us, they go take the manager's training and he gets the certificate and he passes the manager's certificate, but his prerequisites are not certified from SIRA as a manager, security manager. So he says, no, I took the certificate. No, that certificate is for you. But our prerequisites of having a certain years experience and stuff is meant for legislation use only. So they have to separate those two from each other. Hamad Sayed, is there any special SIRA requirement that lady security to be deployed in family park or the residential area or office where ladies also working? Some areas we require ladies security, I think in hotels, but I have to go back to the manual. I don't remember it behind my head. There is, but that is being revised because if you're going to have a security guard and we implement this, the lady security, that's an extra cost on the client. Gohar Khan, if we will go for manager course, we can get manager license, or for license, we have to fulfill license requirement. As I mentioned before, there's a pre-requirement to be licensed from SIRA, but the course, anybody can take it. So that's a difference. So please check our website for the manager's pre-requirements. It's a certain experience in years or certain degree. Shamindra Adiata is saying, sorry, sir, for question on the motorized zoom lens are also called an autofocus or remote focus lens. Motorized zoom, okay. Was for a fixed camera because many fixed cameras come with a remote focus feature using as-built motorized zoom lens. Does the law require that identification cameras need to have this remote focus feature? No, my dear. We put in the law that any installation which are at a high ceiling must have this function. So if you go back to the preventative manual, it mentioned if it's over, I think 4 or 6 meters, I don't remember it, it must have this functionality. It's not identification. Any camera being installed as a general rule on a very high ceiling must have this functionality. Okay, Gohar Khan, how many security guards, lady guards, and supervisor or manager we require in a hotel? Or it's up to the hotel management? My dear, this is up to the security manager or security supervisor to decide. It depends on their operation. I cannot put a general rule of thumb that everybody must have this certain number of security. So it depends on the security manager and the security supervisor. So the management of the hotel must be aware that they are responsible to provide enough security, and that person that was trained to decide how many people he requires for his operation. So for instance, if I go Atlantis and compare it to a different hotel, I cannot compare because the functionalities and operation is different. Okay, Mohammed Sayed, is there any special permission required from SIRA for operating security patrol vehicles? Branding the name, installing walkie-talkie connections, strobe lights. Well, we don't have any regulation regarding that. You can do it. The only regulation that you must be aware of is that the security patrol vehicles must be branded on the company's name. The strobe lights shouldn't be blue color. It should be yellow or red, I think, but it shouldn't be blue, please, strobe lights. The walkie-talkies, it's preferred to be using Tetra walkie the communication device. And there's no open questions anymore.
Yes, no more questions. Dr. Hadi, would you like to say something?
Well, I think we actually came to our time anyway, the end of the webinar. And I would just like to thank everybody for participating and all the questions. And hopefully we will continue to provide this webinar once a month with a different department from SIRA. And well, till we actually see you next time, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Engineer Arif. Thank you, Engineer Khalid.
Thank you, Liz.
Dr. Hadi, thank you very much.
I'd like to thank Engineer Arif for joining us today and on answering all the questions that he had, even it was coming again, the same questions in a different way, and he was very
accommodating.
Yes. Thank you, Engineer Arif. Thank you, Liz, for moderating the webinar.
Thank you, everybody.
Dr. Hadi, thank you very much, and we'll see you, inshallah, soon in a better and safe, inshallah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.